Hey everybody, welcome back to Kindred Spirits on the Roof. Last time we got through Yuna's extra scenes, and this time we are going to take a look at all of Megumi's extra scenes. I stated this in Yuna's video, but I've really missed Megumi and Sachi. Their presence is really, is really just prominent in the main story. And even playing like through the subplots and all, you still knew Sachi and Megumi were around. And I guess in the extra scenes we know they're around in most of these too, because it's all before they left. But still, I know from like a story completion reader perspective that they're gone, and it makes me sad in a weird distorted time reality fantasy thing. But now I'm like really happy to see him again, so I'm looking forward to it. Oh, Yuna! I have no complaints about all the time I've spent alone with Sachi-san, but it's really been so long since I've known anyone else, someone I can even greet in the hallways. I didn't know how much I missed it. Oh, Megumi. And I even get a response. I suppose I'm happy about that. I'm not gonna tell Yuna that, though. No, you wouldn't, Megumi. What is it? Did something happen? Huh? Yuna whispered to me, bouncing her vision between the people around her. Well, I can't tell her that I said hi just because I wanted to. She's gotta respect me. Well... But I can't really think of anything to tell her. I usually say pretty much everything I need to on the roof. Yuna cut off my thoughts before I could figure out what to say. Come to think of it, I've been meaning to ask. Go on. Well, we were already at the end of a deserted hallway, but Yuna lowered her voice to be almost inaudible. She hesitated for a moment, an awkward look on her face. What? What is it? This is kind of hard to ask, but... Come on, if you're gonna ask something, ask it. I certainly miss these two together. Yuna and Megumi gunslinging, snarky remarks back and forth at one another is glorious, always. She's not going to say she's fallen for Sachi-san too, is she? Declare herself my rival? I knew this was going to be bad from the start. It's impossible not to admire Sachi-san. Why are you two set on this, well, unregrettable first time thing? Huh? Like, if you don't know how to do it, couldn't you, just try? You love each other, don't you? Really now, don't scare me like that. I thought it was something serious. I didn't think it would be that of all things. Why do we want an unregrettable first time so much? Why can't we just figure it out if we love each other? You're naive, Yuna. You can't take first times so lightly. They're dangerous, you gotta use caution. Huh? You'd think she'd do better than a vacant stare. Fine, I guess I'll have to teach her. Kids these days don't know anything. Listen, when I was alive, there was a girl in my class who was pretty mature. She had dyed hair and super long skirt, and she was going out with a punk. In class, she was kind of a loner, but if she started talking about something, all the girls in the class would cool out and listen to her. Me too. Of course, I couldn't just quietly eavesdrop when she was talking about first times. I asked her a few questions, too. What I learned from her was that first times are totally dangerous. How exactly are they dangerous? Yuna's looking at me like she kind of gets it and kind of doesn't. Well, fine. I went close and whispered the details into Yuna's ear. I knew no one could hear me, but it wasn't the sort of thing you should just say out loud. Well, first her boyfriend, And, but then you see, oh my god, Yuna's blushing now. What are you saying to her, Megumi? Why don't we get in on this conversation? And like that. So she had to. But there was so much. So the next day was, and still, she had to just, but it really hurt. And mostly it was just a tough, exhausting experience. Now, to be fair, first times are generally very, very awkward. And if you're not open with your partner, it can actually be kind of dangerous. So I like that Megumi's like dispelling the myth that first times are like really romantic and fun. My first time certainly wasn't fun. There was a lot of embarrassment, a lot of hurt feelings. Yeah, it can be really traumatic if not done right. So I really appreciate Megumi coming in with this and dispelling that myth that romanticizes first times. I backed up a little and looked at Yuna. She was silent, the color drained from her face. Isn't that tragic? I guess so, but isn't that because she was with a guy? Maybe, but maybe not. If we try it and it doesn't work, what do we do then? I guess, but we only get one first time. If we screw it up, we'll never get another. When I told Sachi-san this, she said we should be careful, so... Sachi-san and I are a loving couple, bound by a perfect bond. Our first time has to be perfect too. Yes, really, it's true. I almost want to applaud myself. I'm kind of surprised you're not applauding yourself, Megumi. I can see you doing it. It would be the same even if we weren't so perfect. Isn't it only natural that the first time you become one with your lover should be a wonderful experience to fondly remember for the rest of your life? Yet Yuna just nods to herself like always, with that boring look on her face that makes it impossible to guess what she's thinking. Are you kidding me? Yuna's probably like methodically like processing all of this since she's so level-headed about things. Well, I get it. Thanks. What a dull response. Then she went off, saying, class is gonna start. Well, whatever. Yuna had a look on her face like, I guess that makes sense. She's still such a kid. One day she'll understand what I meant. And then she'll regret not thanking her senpai in life here. Oh, I forgot that Megumi calls herself that. I am your senpai in life, Yuna. Oh, that's one of my favorite Megumi-isms. Oh, and she does thank you guys. Oh, that makes me sad now, cause we know that Yuna feels very grateful towards Megumi and Sachi. Oh, senpai, eh? It's also been a really long time since I've had anyone to talk to as their senpai. It doesn't really feel like it since I still look like I did back then, but I'm like a generation wiser than she is, and I'm 200 steps ahead of her when it comes to experience and love. Well, I think most people might be, kind of a couple hundred steps ahead of Yuna in love at this point. That is not her strong suit, as we know. Senior and junior, huh? Yeah, that doesn't feel bad. She's a pretty useful junior to have around, I guess. Though, it's lame that Yuna doesn't seem to think of me as her senpai at all. I'll just have to keep explaining my wisdom to her like this whenever I see her. I've got lots of things to teach her as her senpai, and I've got to keep an eye on her to make sure she doesn't make a move on Sachi-san. Oh, Megumi, I've missed you. God, sometimes I get mixed up because Umi and Megumi look so similar. And even in their little chibi thumbnails, I get them confused sometimes when I see them. Because they almost have like the same hairstyle and stuff. It's interesting. Finding me in her classroom after school, Yuna looked a little surprised. Or maybe more like, what? Than surprised. 2 months ago, she had fled from us like a rabbit, but I guess she's not as easy to frighten now. When she ran from us that first time, I thought she was pretty rude, but I'm kind of disappointed that we can't get a rise out of her anymore. Did you need something? Not really. I was just bored, so I was waiting for her here. I like the classrooms after school, how the evening sun shines into them and fades with the noises of the day. When I look out at the sky from the classrooms, I don't feel so concerned that I've died and that so much time has passed since then. What about you, Yuna? I was in the cafeteria. I'll have to use some of the stuff there, so I had some questions to ask about it. Yuna was walking to her desk as she answered. She pulled some printouts out from a folder and started lining them up in neat rows. In a hurry? No, not really. All right, let's talk then. I expected her face would immediately switch to I'm busy here, but Yuna glanced around to make sure we were alone, then pulled out an extra chair from the desk next to hers and sat down at her own. Oh, that's so cute, Yuna. Is that chair for me? How considerate of her. I sat sidelong on the chair and looked back at Yuna, a small feeling of happiness bubbling up inside me. I mean, it felt like we were normal students wasting time after school, sitting close together, putting our feet up. I doubt Yuna did it with that in mind or anything, but it made me really happy for some reason. Yuna worked at the papers on her desk, silently and efficiently. Yeah, but Yuna's not going to stop working while she's talking. I think at this point, Yuna's just resigned. She's like, I'm not going to fight with you. Here, take a seat. I'm going to do my work. You talk. It looked like she was going over everything about cooking duty for the track team, like how many servings could fit each piece of cookware, how much food she could stuff in a fridge. Start with vegetables, which won't keep for long, or switch between meat and fish. Make hot dishes easy to eat, even without an appetite, or refreshing things that are best cold. It was just a menu, but Yuna was treating it kind of like a puzzle. You really like cooking, huh? I guess so. I knew she was concentrating, but it was still a rather curt response. Not that I minded. Cooking is fun, after all. I did it quite a lot myself. Did you? I puffed out my chest when Yuna looked up with surprise. I was frail, so I couldn't really move around much, right? There's not a whole lot you can do at home, so I spent a lot of time cooking. Guess that wasn't really something to brag about, but it did seem to catch Yuna's interest. What kind of stuff did you make? Well, sweets. Huh? I made a lot of cookies and madeleines, I guess. You can do all sorts of things with those before you get sick of them. Yeah. Right, I liked eating tarts and pies, but they kind of take a lot of energy, and pie crust is pretty difficult. I didn't get to make a whole lot of them. Actually, the marble slate I used for kneading crusts was too heavy, so I dropped it and broke it once. I got in a lot of trouble and was forbidden from making them anymore. For food, I liked making chicken fried rice. It's easy, but it's good, right? Yeah. I'd eat it just like that for lunch. And then for dinner, I'd make omelet rice with it. Yeah, I made a lot of Western food, too. Like Hamburg steak and Napolitan pasta. I think it's Napolitan pasta, right? That explains why Megumi's favorite dish is that spaghetti carbonara, I think is how it's pronounced. Which is such a shame. My family's Italian. How do I not know how to pronounce these things? Anyways, but yeah, it seems like Megumi had a taste for Western food. Oh, Yuna, do you like ketchup? Ugh. Huh? Oh yeah, I guess I might have used it a lot. I can't stand ketchup. I hadn't really thought about it, but now that she's pointing it out, I mean, it's kind of rich and just a little sweet. It's pretty tasty, isn't it? I made Japanese food too. For that I liked soy sauce. I made a lot of stewed things. What did you use for the stock? Normal stuff. Dried sardines or bonito or kelp. Oh, but what was it? There was some dried fish we got from a relative once that we grilled and broke up into stock. That one was great. I wonder what it was. It had like this wide open mouth and I was kind of scared of it at first. It was a really simple name. Ago? Yeah, that's it, ago. Dried flying fish then. Grilled ago. That's pretty good, yeah. Flying fish? Huh. I'm actually not very good at preparing fish. I don't know that much about them. Really? Well, they're just so raw, you know? They're like so slimy and limp and they smell really bad. Dude, fish is the best, Megumi. It's been a really long time since I've talked about cooking with anyone. Yeah, this is making me it's making my soul warm, but it makes me sad too. Because, again, it's like that whole, this game, hitting it, like really committing and fleshing out the idea that Megumi's been dead for a while, you know, and she's been alone and she's had Sachi, but, you know, no one else to really keep her company or to talk to about things, and that makes me sad. And so this relationship between her and Yuna makes me very happy and feel very warm on the inside, but it's very poignant, you know. It's got like that bittersweet tinge to it. My cooking actually wasn't that popular. It's true that I tried a bunch of stuff though, and I was talking about it with Yuna, so I wanted to brag a little. I really want to make something now. I haven't had much opportunity to reminisce, but I did like cooking, and even if I couldn't eat much, I liked eating too. But I liked it much more when other people ate what I cooked. It's a great feeling to hear the words, "it's good," and even more so when it's someone special to you saying them. I want to treat Sachi-san to my home cooking. Oh, Yuna's peeved. I can see it on her face. She's like, of course we end up there. Well, I did feel bad for suddenly changing the subject from cooking, but I bet Yuna likes people eating her food better than actually making it, too. Want me to make her something? I can follow a recipe if you give me one or something. Oh, I could just possess you and cook that way, couldn't I, Yuna? I don't want to go that far. Huh, killjoy. But I guess Sachi-san couldn't eat it anyway. That's too bad. If you were gonna make something, what would you want to make? What, is she being considerate again? I suppose I can answer at least. Fantasizing's free after all. Well, Sachi-san likes new things, so I'd want to make something she'd never eaten before, I think. Yeah, I bet she'd enjoy that. So that's why Sachi's really interested in the computers and Yuna's smartphone. Because at first I thought it was just, she was just kind of a curious person, but she just likes new things in general, you know, and why she wanted to try Coke, which is like, I love that scene. She'd say, "This is so interesting, you're amazing, Megumi," or "May I have more?" But maybe onigiri would be best. Onigiri? Yeah. I wonder why. Thinking about Sachi-san's face, I just sort of landed on a onigiri. They're not novel or special at all, and they're probably too simple to really be called cooking. But I just felt like Sachi-san eating my homemade onigiri would make me really happy. Onigiri does kind of fit Sachi-san's image, doesn't it? I know I've said this again and again, but if you flirt with Sachi-san... Come on, Yuna said, looking exasperated again. I know, you want to tell me to lay off already. But I can't help how I feel. It's scary. It's scary just imagining another person thinking about Sachi-san. I've never had to worry about someone stealing Sachi-san away from me before. Only now here's Yuna, who can see her too. It just makes you anxious when you have a sweetheart as amazing as Sachi-san. I mean, she's so pretty, and she's kind and strong and reliable. Yeah, I get it already. Don't worry, Megumi. Yuna is gonna know exactly how this feels come next month. Just mark my words. You hang on to that. You hang on to that. She's gonna empathize with you completely. Yuna snapped at me, putting together the printouts she was finishing with. That's when the classroom door suddenly opened and Hina-chan walked in. Yep, speaking of such. Yuna-ne? Huh? Yeah, Hina? I guess Yuna had been caught pretty off guard. I could see the tight grip she had on the papers. I thought you were talking to someone. You did? You started talking out loud in the middle. I whispered to her and saw her eyes twitch for a second. I was just talking to myself. She made a lame excuse with a face that said something like, I screwed up. It wasn't the sort of mistake Yuna would usually make. But Hina-chan just tilted her head like she didn't really care. Let's go home, Yuna-ne. Sure, you're done with practice? See you, Yuna. Yeah, see... Yuna made to answer me on reflex, then froze. I wasn't even trying to be mean that time. Oh really? Could have fooled me, Megumi. I thought that was totally intentional. Yuna-ne? It's nothing. Let's go. She should have been rather flustered, but Yuna put not only her own chair back, but mine as well, and left. She turned around just before the hallway and said goodbye to me with just her eyes. She never forgets her manners, huh? And I was left alone in the classroom once again. The light outside the windows was all but gone now, enough to make the school a little eerie and a little lonely. Maybe because I'd just been having such a natural after-school experience. Its absence left me feeling a little forlorn. Yeah, I should get going too. Back to Sachi-san. And today we can... No, like always, we could spend the whole night flirting. I whispered, see you tomorrow, and left the darkened classroom. Oh. On my daily Yuri patrol, I happened across Sono-chan dozing in the Hoshikan tatami room. She'd fallen asleep in a weird position, leaning against the wall and holding her shoelaces. She was probably thinking she'd rest a little while, but fell prey to her drowsiness. It's the 4th day of the camp, and they've been holed up in their little task force HQ the whole time. I think she's just playing out of steam. Sono-chan works too hard. I stood next to her and peered down at her face. It's not like there was anything I could do for her, but I wanted to know she was okay. She tries way harder than everyone else despite that small frame of hers. Her body can't keep up with all the extra work she does, though, so it fights back with fevers and spells of anemia. I wonder what it's like to try to keep up with everyone when your body is frail. Certainly you two have that in common, right? I know what it's like. Okay, I apologize if I read that strangely. I certainly understood it in my head strangely. Yeah, these two definitely have that in common. You feel pathetic that your body can't do what's normal. Then you feel sicker and sicker and can barely stay on your feet. And then there's the anxiety. Feeling anemic and getting those nosebleeds must be really frustrating. It's hard, isn't it? But Sono-chan still does her best every day, never complaining. She's always giving it her all whenever I see her around school. She's got my respect. I doubt she'd want to hear that from someone who fell head over heels in love, worked too hard because of it, and wound up a ghost like I did, though. Speaking of giving your all, she said that herself the day she started working here, didn't she? Would we flashback? Do we just do a flashback? Go back in time? I'll be your teacher starting today. My name is Sono Tsukio. It's nice to meet you. I don't have much experience, but I'm hoping to grow along with all of you. My motto is, always give it your all. Oh, I believe we've seen this before, haven't we? But I don't remember when. Oh well. Yeah, it was a really good introduction now that I think about it. Really fitting for her. But I think most of the girls were too distracted by how small she was to really pay any mind to that. Especially the part about growing. She really does need to grow, doesn't she? Seemed to be on everyone's tongues at that time. I could tell. It was on mine too, after all. Oh, Megumi, jeez. Honestly, I thought she was cute, but I didn't really expect her to be a reliable teacher. But Sono-chan was true to her motto. She gives everything all of her might, not only in front of the class, but where no one watches, too. Well, I watch. Even though she's frail, she'll try to hide it when she's working hard and starts struggling. I once found her doubled over in the corner of the school, straining to breathe. I felt helpless. It's hard not being able to do anything but watch. Oh, but I don't have to worry as much now. Sono-chan doesn't have to struggle with it alone anymore since Kiri-san started school here. Kiri-san follows her around everywhere, after all, and she's good at seeing through Sono-san's facade. Sometimes she literally drags Sono-chan to the nurse's office when she's insisting she's alright, with an assertiveness that makes you wonder which one's the teacher. And lately, when it looks like she might have a fever, Kiri-san's got one of those white things to slap on her forehead. You mean like a wet towel or something, Megumi? One of those white things, that's so hard to name. Unless there is a name for it, I don't know. Compressed towel. Kiri-san's kind of a dweeb, but she is reliable. Sometimes she can go kind of crazy with her love for Sono-chan, but I think that's just what Sono-chan needs sometimes. But Kiri-san wasn't here this time. I knew I couldn't be her replacement, but I grasped Sono-chan's hand as she slept all the same. Don't push yourself too hard, sensei. Wow, someone that Megumi might actually respect besides Sachi-san. I could see that, since her and Tsukio do have that frail, weak constitution thing in common. A murmur very fitting for her came back through the deep breaths of her sleep. Sometimes I'll get responses like this if I talk to her while she's sleeping. It's mysterious. That's right. I stood up, remembering something. I wonder where Yuna is now. Sono-chan will catch a cold like this, and even if she doesn't, I bet the work's just gonna pile up for the task force. I'll go catch Yuna and get her to come wake Sono-chan. Or if it doesn't look too busy, maybe bring her a blanket instead. Or maybe I'll get her to tell Kiri-san to do it. Yeah, Yuna's pretty convenient, especially lately. Maybe it's a bother for her to do so much for us, but It's really nice that we can actually do stuff now instead of just watch. September. Idiots in love. Oh boy. Who's Megumi referring to? Ah, right, there can only be one. When idiot is used in this game, it's generally in reference to Yoka. It's not how I would describe her. Maybe like hard-headed, naive, dense. Those are a little more fitting than idiot. Yoka-san peered down at her notebook with a scowl, mechanical pencil in hand. Now and then she'd write something down, then furiously scribble it out, craning her neck and scratching her head vigorously. I've seen her brainstorming lyrics up on the roof a few times, but today she seemed to be concentrating especially hard. Before she'd been muttering something or groaning or grumbling or shouting at the sky, but today, Yoka-san was very quiet. She stared straight at the notebook page and nowhere else, like she was deep inside the world of her lyrics. There are only a few days left until the school festival. I wanted to shout encouragement at her, but I swallowed the words down. I thought I should keep quiet for her, even if I knew she couldn't hear me anyway. 1, 2, 3... Yeah, it works. I did it. Huh? I looked over to see Yoka-san pushing the lead back into her pencil and setting it down. She did it? She really finished it? Really? Finally? But so quietly? I thought you'd make a much bigger deal of it. Yes! Yoka-san whispered, then pumped her right fist into the air. Her eyes were moist as she looked up at the sky. Her arm was shaking a little from all the strength she put into it. She's finally done it. The cool, hot song that's gonna capture Aki-san's heart. Congratulations, Yoka-san. I sighed in relief. Somehow I felt accomplishment, like it was me who finished the song. Maybe because I've been watching over her love from the moment she first realized it. And maybe because in watching over her, I've come to see the stupid, bright, and honest Yoka-san as kinda cool. She's so straightforward and earnest, and something is just weird about her. It's really fun to cheer her on. Yoka-san's candid personality puts her kind of at odds with a stubborn person like me. Maybe I admire her for it. Maybe I want to be like her a bit. Alright, I can't waste any time. She said to email it to her at the earliest second. Wait, email it to who? To Yuna so she could check them over? Because this is before the school festival, so her and Yuna, because her and Yoka and Yuna meet one more time before this, or was that at summer camp? No, that was at summer camp. Right. I'm already getting my events mixed up. Okay, I wonder. Oh no, it's one of her band. No, I still think she's probably sending it to Yuna. Excuse me. I peeked down at her notebook. I couldn't really look earlier since I felt like I'd be disturbing her concentration. Let's see here. I see. I gave the lyrics a smile of approval. They're good lyrics, very like Yoka-san. I like them a lot. There we go. Okay, it's good. Looks like she sent it. I waited to congratulate her again, but Yoka-san was still frowning at her phone, fiddling with it. She seemed to be rereading the email she'd just sent. This doesn't sound dumb, does it? Oh dear, now she looks nervous. Well, I understand how she feels. What are you saying? Confessions are perfect when they sound a little dumb. I couldn't help making the comment and slapping Yoka-san on the back. But I really felt that way. You can only act shamelessly stupid like this when you're in love, right? I was a perfect example of one such idiot when I fell for Sachi-san at first sight. I went toward her without checking where I was going once. I couldn't think about anything else. My world revolved around her. And before I knew it, here I was. Oh my god, that is so sad, Megumi. It is sad because it involves your death. Oh man. Excuse me for a minute while I wipe the tear out of my eye. But what's most stupid is that I still don't regret it at all. It sounds charming to say I bet my life on this love, but I really think I was pretty dumb. And to make things worse, I'm totally content with my idiocy. I guarantee it as your senpai in being stupid and in love. These lyrics are great. You're great, Yoka-san. So be more confident in yourself. It's better to be stupid when you're confessing to the person you love. No, I can't lose my nerve now. Okay, I'm good. I'm sure she didn't hear me or anything, but it looked like she recovered. Yoka-san stood forcefully, her cell phone still in her hand. All my rocks packed in here. All I've got to do now is play it for her. Yeah, let her have it. Leave it to me. So did she really just send it to one of her bandmates? I'd like to believe she sent it to Yuna. But maybe I misread that. Yoka-san thrust her hand up into the air, cell phone and all, and skipped over to the roof entrance. Good, that's the spirit. Just be yourself, Yoka-san. Wait a second. Was it just me, or was that a reply just now? Did I just imagine it? Well, no matter. Anyway, I'm curious about how the other girls are doing, so I should probably start making my rounds through the school. On Yuri patrol, Megumi? Is that what you call it? And as soon as I left the roof, I ran into a familiar face. Yuna, listen! No, I shouldn't tell Yuna. I'm sure Yoka-san wants to tell her herself. Oh, Megumi, are you being considerate now? I knew you were all capable of that all this time. And Yuna's in some trouble now, too. I'm sure she's worried about Hina-chan since she's gotten caught up in the Matsuri-san and Miyu-san's fight. Even her reaction just now was a little delayed. It makes you feel bad when a girl like her, who's usually so together, is all nervous about something like this, doesn't it? I kinda don't want to bother her. Was I just being considerate? Me? Yeah. I already asked that, Megumi. What is with you? Who is this? Wow, I'm such a good senpai. My own maturity astounds me. What is it? It's nothing. Huh? It's nothing. Don't worry about it. See you. What the heck? Now it's gonna bug me. Oh, it's wonderful. The rice cooker we'd borrowed from the home ec room lit up, alerting us that it had finished. Yuna stood up and turned to me. Well, should we get started? Okay. Yuna opened the clasp on the cooker and scooped a ball of rice into a bowl. I looked around, spotting a tray of nori, a plate with salmon, and a small dish of salt, plus 2 little lunch boxes for some reason. So well prepared. I'm starting to get nervous now that it's happening. Well, all yours. But now that we've come this far... Oh, Yuna, are you gonna let her at least, like, possess your hands or something so you can... so she can make the rice balls? Look at you. Being nice to Megumi. I pressed myself close to Yuna, closer than when we share her lunch. So close that my ghostly form overlapped with her body, right up against her, and more. It all started during lunch. I was wandering the halls and Yuna had called out to me. We got some rice from a neighbor the other day. It was really good. Oh yeah? With a fascinating opener like that, I wasn't listening. Sorry, that kind of deserves a reread because that was Megumi being incredibly sarcastic. With a fascinating opener like that, I wasn't listening very closely, but... Oh, want to make some onigiri for Sachi-san with it? Huh? Huh? Yeah, I'm sure you're fascinated now, Megumi. You can make some if you possess me, right? Then you could give them to Sachi-san. I was surprised at the suggestion, but I think I was the one who brought up the idea in the first place. I just mentioned wanting to treat Sachi-san to my home cooking and thinking onigiri might be good, but... Yuna remembered, huh? Of course, I happily took her up on her offer. Your senpai will gladly accept this offering. I'd been kind of full of myself. Which is always Megumi. You don't need to say that. We already know. It's really been so long since I've cooked. There's nothing I could do about that, and it's only natural that I'm rusty, but I am still a little anxious about it. What if they don't come out right? Should I just eat them and pretend it never happened? That'd be pretty sad, too. My thoughts wandered as I wet my hands and shook the water from them. I put some salt on my palm, and the first handful of rice is always so hot. Onigiri are easy to make, but that's the biggest hurdle. I kind of hate the part before your hands get used to the heat, but I just need to put up with it. Okay. I scooped up half of the rice I'd need and set it on my palm. It's not hot. Huh, it's not that hot. I remember dropping the rice a few times when I'd made onigiri before. Do you have thick skin on your hands, Yuna? I'm used to it, and I put the rice in a bowl so that it'd cool faster. Is that it? So you can do that too. Next is... I shaped the bottom half of the onigiri, indenting it a little and placing the salmon inside. Putting the other half of the rice on top, I shaped it with my hands, making sure to squeeze it on the outside, but leave it soft on the inside. It's hard to get this part right. Now, once I put the nori on, I'll have one done. Well, I made one, but it's kinda oblong. Maybe I put too much strength into one of my hands. It's fine. There's enough for 4 of them. What? I didn't mess up or anything. You don't seem very satisfied either, though. It feels a little like she's seen right through me, and it kinda pisses me off. But I think I've got the hang of it now. The next one will be A-okay. I figured out exactly how much strength to use making the second one. Getting the sense of it back, my hands were moving completely on instinct by the time I started the third one. I feel like I'm even better at this than before. Well, they're just onigiri after all, but I never could make anything too complicated, and these are perfect. You're not half bad at this, actually. I thought I might have to help you out more. Don't you think that's rude, Yuna? Is it? Sorry. Not that I don't understand. I bet Yuna was pretty nervous about how clumsy I was at the beginning. It's her body, and she's good at cooking, so she could probably tell how out of practice I was. I finished the last one with those complicated feelings going through my head. Every ingredient had been perfectly used up. Good work. They came out pretty nice. Good enough, at least. Pulling the lunchboxes over to me, I figured out why she prepared too. I placed the 2 best-looking onigiri in a box for Sachi-san, and put the first 2 slightly misshapen ones in another box for her to bring home. She'd predicted that I'd struggle with the first few, not quite getting it right yet. My feelings are a little mixed on that, but I guess I'm grateful. I suppose you have my thanks, Yuna. Really, you're so well prepared. Well, that's just my nature, Yuna retorted. She just lets this stuff slide now, huh? Before she would have made a super scary face. I'm happy to see Yuna changing like this too. Yep. Though I think it'd be a little embarrassing to let her know that, so I'm gonna pull away from her now. What, Megumi? But you can claim all the credit and be like, you're changing, Yuna. Must be the guidance I provide you as your senpai in life. Nah, I guess Megumi's changing a little too. At least her feelings towards Yuna, warming up a little more to her. I was thinking while I watched Yuna clean everything up. This was probably partly for my sake, but partly as a diversion for Yuna. She must be really confused about Hina-chan. My face must have shown that I was thinking what I was thinking about. That I was thinking about it, because Yuna glanced my way and said, "I'll figure something out." Quietly. Yuna? It hadn't even been half a year since we'd met, but she was so quick to guess my thoughts. She's more sensitive to other people's feelings than anyone, but that's also what makes her so fragile. God can be cruel sometimes. Why did she turn out to be such a handful? Of course you will. You're the only one who can make this decision. I know my words were even crueler. I wanted to say something else to her. Well, but... Thank you. I like that you're so considerate of others, that you can act on those feelings. Is something I'd never say, 'cause it's way too embarrassing. No way. Was Yuna's short response. She tidied up all the tools we'd used, wiped down the table, and tucked the lunch boxes into a little pouch. Let's bring them to her while they're still warm. Where's Sachi-san right now? Looking at her, I think Yuna managed to figure out what I wanted to say to her. Is this what you'd call being good friends? Around now, I think she'll be by the memorial tree, I replied, next to Yuna as she started walking. I hope Sachi-san likes my onigiri. That's my biggest worry right now, and about as big as my worries about Yuna. Oh, I like the Megumi Yuna friendship. I'm sad that might be the last of it we actually see. Kind of have a tear in my eye. Those two, it's nice to see them grow. They're fun when they're sort of bickering and at each other's throats, but to remember what happens in the main story and then to get those extra scenes, it's so nice to see them like get closer and care for each other, but still keep like a very similar dynamic. That is good friendship right there. That is what it's like to be good friends with someone. All right, next time we're gonna take care of the Sachi extra scenes. So I will see you back here, or I will talk to you back here. At that point, that should be tomorrow. But you know, sometimes I end up skipping a day because things happen. Anyways, enough about that. Thanks for watching, y'all. Talk to you on the next one. And take care.